Hello and welcome to my channel, Crochet and Copy. My name is Judy. Today I'm going to show you how to make this lovely summertime bolero. Let's get started. Here are the measurements of our summertime bolero. So these are supplies we're going to be using to make our summertime bolero. I go over them with you. The yarn that we're using is the Yarn Bee Soft and Sleek DK. It's low pill fiber. It's 478 yards. The color is Pretty in Pink 15. It's 3 light and 100% low pill acrylic. We're going to be using 2 of them to complete our project. We have our hook is the 4.5 millimeter, a few stitch markers, a yarn needle, and lastly our scissors. So these are supplies we're going to be using to make our summertime bolero. So let's get started. To get started, we're going to do a slip knot stitch, and this is how I do my slip knot stitch. If there's a method you prefer, go ahead and do it. I take the yarn, drape it over my 2 fingers, I let it fall to the back. I take my hook, put my hook between my fingers, and I pull up a loop of yarn, and I have a knot, and just tighten that knot against my hook, and there you go. So now we're going to do 59 chain, and keep your chain loose as you work, okay? A chain is yarn over your hook and pull through, 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 yarn over your hook and pull through. So just keep a track of that and do that for 59 times, and when you finish that, I'll meet you there. We did that for 59 times, and this is how we look so far. So chain. So now we're going to place 1 double crochet in the 4th chain from our hook. So our first chain will be right here. 2nd, 3rd, and 4th is right here. So in this 4th chain right there, we're going to put a double crochet. And the double crochet is yarn over, remember the 4th chain, go into that chain, pull up a loop of yarn. You have 3 loops of yarn on your hook, yarn over, and you're going to pull across the first 2 loops of yarn. There you go. And to complete this double crochet, what you're going to do is yarn over, and you pull straight across those 2, and that's it. And for a reminder too, right here that we have our 3 chain, this will be considered our first double crochet. And when we come back to it, I'll show you why, because we're going to use it. So this will be considered our first double crochet. So now in the following 4 chain, we're going to do 1 double crochet. I'll show you a double crochet again. Yarn over, go into that chain, and you're going to pull up a loop of yarn. 3 loops of yarn on your hook, yarn over, pull across the first 2 loops. To complete that double crochet, yarn over and pull across those 2. Show you one more time. Yarn over, go into that chain, and then you're going to pull up a loop of yarn, 3 loops of yarn on your hook, yarn over and pull across the first 2 remaining, yarn over, and you're going to complete it by pulling across those 2. So we need 1 more. And to complete it, pull across. There you go. So now you grab your stitch marker, and you're going to put that first stitch marker in the last double crochet we just made. See, you have that opening right there with the double crochet. So put it right there and close it up so we don't lose our spot. Because with this bolero that we're making, we're working from the top down. So this will be when we're starting the front of our bolero. That will be our first front. Now for the next 8 chain, what you're going to do is put 1 double crochet, and I'll show you how to do the double crochet so you know how to do it. So you're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Just 1 double crochet in those chain, and when you finish that, I'll meet you there. Okay, so we did that for 8 times, and that's how we look. Make sure you have your 8, count them, because you could count them from where we left off our last stitch marker, and this will be the first one. So it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So now in that last double crochet we just made, we're going to take another stitch marker to help remind us, and we're going to put it right there. And this is for our sleeves, okay? So now what you're going to do is you're going to put 1 double crochet in the following 30 chains, and when you finish that, I'll meet you there. So 1 double crochet, keep a track of how many you're doing, and 30 times. Okay, so we did that for 30 times, and that's how we look. So now we're going to put another stitch marker right here, and this will be for our back. Now for the following 8 chain, you're going to put 1 double crochet. So now we did that for 8 times. So what we're going to do is take our next stitch marker, and we're going to place it in that last double crochet we did, and that's it. So now we have 5 chain left. So what you're going to do is just do 1 double crochet in each of those 5 chain. Okay, we did that, and that's how we look. We did the last 5 chain to do with 1 double crochet. With that, we completed row 1, and with the completion of row 1, we're supposed to have 57 stitches. Okay, make sure you have 57, and then we're going to move on to row 2. So now to start row 2, you're going to chain 2, and a chain you know how to do, just yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. So now we completed those 2 chains. So now we're going to turn our work, and we're going to start row 2. So for our first 5 stitches, we're going to put 1 double crochet, and this right here will be considered our first stitch right there. So you're going to put a double crochet, and you know how to do the double crochet because that's what we've been working with. So that will be our first one. So continue doing 4 more, and I'll meet you there. So we did that for 5 times, and now we meet up at our stitch marker, our first stitch marker. So now at our stitch marker, what we're going to do, we're going to put 3 double crochet right there. So take out your stitch marker, but I'll show you what else to do. So we're going to put 1 double crochet to start off with, and then do another one, second double crochet. And this is moving forward what we're going to do when we get to our stitch markers, okay, as a reminder. So now because we made 2 double crochet, the second one we're going to put our stitch marker to remind us back again. So that's what we're going to do. We put 3 double crochet into our stitch marker, but the second stitch marker you made, that will be the center double crochet. You put your stitch marker back in there, okay? You're going to see as we move along, and this will be our last one because that will make it 3. So there you go. So we're increasing right here, and when we increase, we put our stitch marker back in the second double crochet made in that row of 3 double crochet into that 1 stitch. All right, and the next stitch right after, we're going to put 1 double crochet. So now in our next stitch, what we're going to do is called a double crochet cluster stitch, and it's similar to our double crochet we're doing, you see as we go along. So you're going to yarn over, go into that stitch, and you're going to pull up a loop of yarn, and then you're going to take off the first 2 loops of yarn, and we're going to do this 7 times to make our cluster. Okay, so that's 1, yarn over, remember, and go back into that same stitch, and then you take off the first 2 stitch that we have and keep the remaining on them. So we need to do that 7. So that's 2, and this will be our 3rd time, 4th, and 5th, and this will be our 6th, and then this will be our last 7. So it's like you're doing the double crochet, but you're doing a incomplete double crochet. All right, so what you're going to do is by doing that 7 times, we have to make sure we have 8 loops on our hook. So you have 2, 4, 6, 8. 8 loops on our hook. So now what you're going to do is yarn over to complete our cluster double crochet, and you're going to pull across all 8 of those loops on our hook at the same time. There you go. And that's your first double cluster stitch, and the design is going to show out on this side. That's what you're going to see as we do more. Okay, so now for the next 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, you're going to put 1 double crochet, and that's it. And when you do that for 2 more times, I'll meet you there. So we did that for 3 times with 1 single double crochet, and now for the next stitch we're going to do another double cluster. I'll show you again. Remember, it's like the incomplete double crochet. We have to do it 7 times. All right, so yarn over, go into that stitch, pull up a loop of yarn, yarn over, take off the first 2, hold on to those 2, yarn over, go into that same stitch, pull up another loop of yarn, take off, yarn over, take off the first 2 loops, yarn over, go into that same stitch, pull up another loop of yarn, take off the first 2 loops of yarn, and then yarn over, back into that same stitch, take off the first 2 loops of yarn, remember to yarn over, go into that same stitch, pull up another loop of yarn, take off the next 2 loop of yarn, the first 2, yarn over, go into that same stitch, pull up another loop of yarn, take off the first 2 loops of yarn. See, we have 2, 4, 6, 7. We need 1 more time. Yarn over, pull up a loop of yarn, yarn over, take off the first 2 loops of yarn, and double check again to make sure you have your 8. 2, 4, 6, 8, and then yarn over to complete that cluster stitch by pulling all across the 8 loops of yarn we have. That's it. So now for the next stitch, all we're going to do is just put 1 single double crochet right there. All right, and now we're at the stitch marker. So that's what, moving forward now with our stitch marker that we have here, take it out, and you're going to put, because this is where we're going to increase, so you're going to put 3 double crochet here, but remember that the second double crochet, the center double crochet, is where you're going to put back your stitch marker, so you remember where we increase. Okay, so that's our second one, put it back, and then 1 more double crochet to complete our set of 3 double crochet in that 1 stitch. So just want to turn it and show you how it looks, and that's our 2 cluster double crochet we have. This is the side that we're going to work on. It's considered the wrong side of our work, and that's what we want to show it as. Now what we're going to do here, I'm going to pull that up so I don't lose my spot. So from here to our next stitch marker, all we're going to do is put 1 double crochet in each of our stitches that we have. So when you get right to your stitch marker, you stop there, and then you should have 29 stitches. Okay, so when you do that, I'll meet you there. Okay, so we did that for 29 times, just 1 double crochet in our stitches. So now we get to this other stitch marker. So remember, when we get there, we increase, so we're going to put 3 double crochet into that same stitch. So that's 1. This will be a second one. Remember to put back in your stitch marker, don't lose your spot, and this will be a 3rd double crochet into that stitch. So now the same pattern we did for here, we're going to follow. So I'm going to show you again. So for the first stitch, we're just going to put 1 double crochet, And then for the next stitch, we're going to do the double cluster. And remember, the cluster is similar to the double crochet, although you're just going to pick up loops as you go along 7 times, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then make sure you have your 8 loops. 2, 4, 6, 8. Yarn over, pull across all 8 of them at the same time, and there you go. And now for the following 3 stitches, all you're going to do is put 1 double crochet. So let's do that. This will be 1, 2, 3. And now the next stitch is going to be our double cluster. So 7 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and 7. And this should give us our 8 loops on our hook, all right? 2, 4, 6, 8. Yarn over. Remember, keep it loose so you could pull across. And then pull across all 8, and there you go. And then the next stitch, or last stitch right here before we get to our next stitch marker, just 1 double crochet. There you go. And see how it looks in the back. And that's the design and style we're looking for, the little cluster puff stitch look. So remember, whenever we get to our stitch marker, we do a 3 double crochet into that same stitch, and we're increasing here. That's our second one. Put our stitch marker back in. And we got 1 more to make. There you go. So now we have 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to put 1 double crochet. All right. So when you finish that, I'll meet you there. Okay, so we did that for 4 times. And remember, I told you when we first started and we did that first double crochet in the 4th stitch from our hook, we have that part right here that has those 3 chain. And I told you we count that as our first double crochet for our work. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a double crochet on the top chain right there, okay? So just put 1 double crochet right there. Then this will help us complete our row. So for the completion of row 2, you're supposed to have 65 stitches. And when you have 65 stitches, although we do so much for the cluster double crochet, you consider that 1 stitch, okay? When you count it, make sure you have your 65 for row 2. So now to start row 3, we're going to chain 2, 1, 2, and turn your work. So to start row 3, we're going to put 1 double crochet in the first 6 stitches, and the first stitch is right here. So you're going to put the double crochet to start right there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You're going to put 1 double crochet. And we did that for 6 times. So now we meet to our stitch marker. Remember where our stitch marker is. We're going to put 3 double crochet in that same stitch, but in the second double we make, you put your stitch marker back in, and this is where it tells us we increase. And 1 more. So now what we're going to do till we get to our next stitch marker, we're just going to put 1 double crochet, and that will be 9 stitches. You're going to put 1 double crochet. So go ahead and do that, and I'll meet you there. So we did that for 9 times. So now we made it to our next stitch marker. So remember, every time we get to our stitch marker, what we do, we increase by adding 3 double crochet into that one stitch where our stitch marker was. So this is our second one. So we're going to put it back in. And this is our third one. Now from here to our next stitch marker, we're just going to put 1 double crochet, and you're going to do that for 31 times. So when you finish doing that and you make it to your next stitch marker, just do 1 double crochet. So we did that for 31 times by putting 1 double crochet into each of those stitches. So now we made it to our stitch marker. So now remember, this is our increase, so we're going to put 3 double crochet into this one stitch. That's our first one, and this would be our second one. So remember, put your stitch marker back in, and then this will be our last one. And now for the next 9 stitches to our stitch marker, we're going to do the same thing that we did over here when we first started. So you see the pattern started to form out. We're doing the same thing here. And then what you're going to do is just put 1 double crochet into 9 of those stitches. So we need 8 more to do to get to your stitch marker. And I'll show you what to do next. We complete doing that for 9 times. So now we make it to our next stitch marker. Last one for this row. You increase by putting 3 double crochet into that same stitch. So this is our second one. Put your stitch marker back in. Make sure you close it up, and then the next stitch, that's it, because we got to put 3. So now for the remaining of the stitches, you should have 6, and you're going to put 1 double crochet. I just want to show you too, when you get here, there is a stitch right there, but when you work with it, kind of pull it to the side so it doesn't seat as well, but it's right there. So just take your hook and put it right there, and you see open up, and that will be our last double crochet to do for this row. And by doing that, we completed row 3, and with the completion of row 3, you're supposed to have 73 stitches. Now to start row 4, you chain your 2, 1, 2, turn your work. See, when we completed row 3, we had 6 stitches, but because we increased, when we turn for row 4, to start row 4, we're going to do 7 double crochet into each of our stitches. So remember, the first one is right here. Go here. You can see it. It's open. When you do it, you see it, okay? So you're going to do 7 stitches with 1 double crochet. So now we did that for 7 times, and that's how we look. So we made it to our first stitch marker. So remember, when we do our stitch marker, what we do, we take it out and we put 3 double crochet into that same stitch. Okay, so that's our second one. Put your stitch marker back in, close it up, 1 more to go. That's it. So we're going to do basically the same thing we did for row 2. So the first stitch right there, we're going to put 1 double crochet, and the next stitch there, we're going to do the cluster double crochet. And you know how to do the cluster. Remember, it's just going into that same stitch and taking off 2 loops at a time till you and keep those loops, other loops in your hook 7 times, and that will give us our cluster. Okay, so keep on doing that, and when you finish that, I'll meet you there. Okay, so we did that cluster. So now this will be the pattern that we're going to follow to keep our design. Okay, so what we're going to do is the first 3 stitches, we're just going to put 1 double crochet. The next stitch, we're going to do the cluster, Okay, so we did that cluster. So now for the next 3 stitches, just put 1 double crochet. So the next stitch, following a pattern, you would do a cluster. 1. So we did that cluster. So the next stitch, you're going to just put 1 double crochet. So we made it to our stitch marker. Take out your stitch marker, and remember it's increase, so you do 3. 1, 2, put your stitch marker back in. This will be our 3rd one. So now what you're going to do from here to the next stitch marker, all you're going to do is just do that 1 double crochet. So that will be 33 times from here to here. Okay, so when you finish that, I'll meet you there. So we did that for 33 times by doing 1 double crochet, and this is how we look and how we're shaping out. So now we made it to the stitch marker. So what we're going to do is 3 double crochet into that same stitch. This is my 2nd one, so I'm going to put my stitch marker back in. 1 more to go. So now here again, we're going to do what we did when we started with our pattern. So the pattern is that first stitch, we're going to just put 1 double crochet right here. And the next stitch will be our cluster. So go ahead and do that cluster, and when you finish it, I'll meet you there. We did that cluster, so now for the following 3 stitches, you're just going to put 1 double crochet. The next stitch will be a cluster. So go ahead and complete that cluster, and I'll meet you there. So we complete that cluster, so the next 3 stitches, just 1 double crochet. So we did those 3 double crochet. Now the cluster, and the next stitch will be just 1 double crochet. And we made it to our final stitch marker for this row. So you know what to do. You're just going to increase there by putting 3. It's my 2nd one. Put back my stitch marker. I got 1 more double crochet to do. So we did that. So now we have 7 stitches remaining for row 4. So just go ahead and put 1 double crochet right there. So we did that for 7 times, and that's how we look. So for the completion of row 4, you're supposed to have 81 stitches. Now to start row 5, chain 2, 1, 2, and turn your work. Now for the remaining of the rows we need from row 5 to row 21, I won't show you how to do it because it's a fairly easy pattern to get and learn it. Because like for row 5, all you're going to do is just do 1 double crochet around. That's it. But remember, whenever you get to your stitch marker, you always increase, so you're going to put 3 double crochet into each of your stitch markers. So at the completion of round 5, you should have 89 stitches. And whenever we increase, by the time we finish each row, you're adding by 8, because for row 4 we end off with 81 stitches. So now for row 5, when you complete it, you're going to get 89 stitches. So you're increasing by 8. Okay, so to help you remember to jot down where you're at and what row you're doing, that help you out. Because for the odd rows, like this row that you're going to start, row 5, you're going to just do just the 1 single crochet, except for where we increase, of course, you put 3 there. So keep that in mind. And then for the even rows, that's where we do our little cluster double crochet. And you see, whenever we increase our little double clusters, they increase too. See, we started off with 2, now we're 3. So when you get to the next even row, that will be row 6, you will have 4 now of our double cluster. And remember, the pattern is that right after our first increase of our stitch marker, you would do just 1 double crochet, and then you do the cluster, and then you do 3 double crochet, a cluster, 3 double crochet, a cluster, and then you finish off with 1 double crochet, and that will get you back to your stitch marker. And it's the same pattern we repeat on both sides. Just wanted to show you, I went ahead and I did an ivory one. I like the ivory color, but I think it would be hard for you to see when I'm using the white background, so that's why I went with this one, so you could see it in the tutorial. And as you see, as I mentioned, when you start, you got just the 2 cluster, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and so on till you get all the way up to row 21. Well, this will be 20, and then 21 will be just the 1 double crochet in each stitch around, except for where you have your stitch marker, you increase with the 3. So that's how it should look, okay, and how you increase. And also too, if you're having problem with figuring out where to put or how to do it, in the description below, I put the pattern where you could find the pattern and how you could get the pattern. So if you work with patterns better and you know how you need that information, check out the description below. I put that information there for the pattern for you to find a PDF pattern, okay? But go ahead and complete all the way up to row 21. And when you finish row 21, I'll meet you there and show you what to do next. So this is how we look when we get all the way up to row 21. And at row 21, we finish with the row that's just 1 double crochet around. And then the last cluster double crochet, you will have 11 double cluster. And at the completion of row 21, you end off with 217 stitches. And it came out pretty nice so far. We're doing great work. So now we're going to be dividing for the armhole. So we're going to start now by using new rows for numbers. So when you hear me say row 1, row 2, it's because we're dividing for the armhole, okay? So to do row 1 to start, you're going to chain your 2, 1, 2, and then you turn your work. And all you're going to do is you're going to do just 1 double crochet in the 24 stitches we have before we get to our stitch marker. So just do 1 double crochet in 24 stitches. When you finish that, I'll meet you there. So we did that for 24 times. So now we have 1 stitch left before our stitch marker, and we're going to use that to join with, because we're going to use that stitch, and we're going to skip all of the stitch, including the one that we have at our stitch marker. We're going to, because it's going to make our armhole, so we want to skip all of the sleeve stitch, and then we're going to go to the next stitch right after our next stitch marker. All right, I'll show you. We're going to do a slip stitch, so go into that stitch, and then you go to the next one. Remember, skip all of the, for our sleeve, go right there. And the slip stitches, you just go into both of the stitches at the same time. Okay, use that one, and use this one, and then you just pull up a loop of yarn, see it there, and you're going to pull across all our loops on our hook. And this is to join our sleeve, okay? That's what we're doing here. Hold on to it so you don't lose it, and then you're just going to maneuver it. You get it. There you go. And that's what we're doing. We're joining it. So now we're joined. So what you're going to do is just going to do 1 double crochet in the back, because we're going to join again when we get to our stitch marker. So go ahead and do 1 double crochet in the back. So that would be 67 double crochet you're going to do. So we complete doing that. We did 67 double crochet in each of our stitch. So that's how we are. So now the same thing we're going to do when we did for the other sleeves. When we join it together, we're going to use our last stitch right here, and then you're going to skip all of the sleeves and you go find your last stitch marker, and you're going to go right to that stitch right after the stitch marker, and we're just going to slip stitch in those 2 stitches to join them together. All right, use them, pull up a loop of yarn, and then you're going to pull it all the way across all the loops that we have on our hook. There you go. Now for the remaining of our stitches we have to the end of the row, you're just going to put 1 double crochet, and that will be completing our row 1, because remember now we're switching to a new row because we joined our sleeve together. Also, I just want to let you know too that do not remove the stitch markers from our sleeves when we close it up, because we're going to refer to them later and we need to reference them. So don't remove them, leave them there. Okay, so we did that for 24 times, and that's for completion of row 1. So like we've been doing, to start row 2, you're just going to chain your 2 and you turn your work. So now we chain and we turn our work. So for the first 2 stitches we have right here, we're going to do what's called the double 2 together crochet. I'll show you how to do it. Yarn over, go into that first stitch, pull up a loop of yarn, 3 loops of yarn on your hook, yarn over, and you're going to pull across the first 2 loops. Keep those other 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, go into the next stitch, pull up a loop of yarn. Now we have 4 loops of yarn on our hook. You're going to yarn over, you're going to pull across the first 2 loops, keep those 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, and pull across all 3 of them at the same time. That's it. So that's the double 2 together crochet. So I'll show you the next 2. We're going to do the same thing. Yarn over, go into that stitch, pull up a loop of yarn, yarn over, pull across the first 2, keep those 2 on your hook, yarn over, go into the next stitch, pull up another loop of yarn. Now you have 4 loops of yarn on your hook. You're going to yarn over, you're going to pull across the first 2, 3 more remaining on your hook, yarn over to complete it, and pull across all 3 of them. And when we do that, we're decreasing in our stitches. Okay, so now for 30 stitches, you're going to need 1 double crochet. But when you get right here by the armhole, I'll show you what to do if you're not too comfortable, you don't know where to put your stitch. So I'll meet you there. But we need 30, just in each stitch 1 double crochet. Okay, so we made it to 19, and the next stitch will be 20. Okay, so we're going to use that stitch right there, because this is where we joined for the armhole. All right, and this is where we actually did the slip stitch to join, so we're not going to put anything there. We're going to go here, and this right here, we're going to use that stitch. So keep a track of how much you did, because you need 30, and when you finish 30, I'll meet you there. So now we finished doing those double crochet for 30 times. So now we're going to decrease by using our double 2 together crochet. Okay, so yarn over, go into that stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull across the first 2 loops, hold on to those 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, go into the next stitch, pull up another loop of yarn. Now you have 4 loops of yarn on your hook. You're going to yarn over, pull across the first 2, 3 remaining loops on your hook, yarn over, pull across all 3 of them at the same time. There you go. So we decrease. So now for the following 23 stitches, you're going to put 1 double crochet. So when you finish that, I'll meet you there. We did that for 23 times by putting 1 double crochet. So now what we're going to do is we're going to decrease again. So I'll show you again. Yarn over, go into the next stitch, pull up a loop, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull across the first 2, keep those 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, go into the next stitch, pull up a loop of yarn. Now 4 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull across the first 2 loops, 3 loops remaining in your hook, yarn over, and pull across all 3 of them at the same time. So that's it. So now I'm not going to show you the other little bit, but what you're going to do is do what we just did. Do 1 double crochet for 23 times, and then you're gonna decrease by using the double two together crochet. And when you do that, I'll meet you there and show you what to do next. Okay, so we did that. We did 23 times one double crochet, and then we did the decrease with using the double two together crochet. So now what we're going to do is just do one double crochet till we get to the last following 4 stitches to do, because we're going to do the same thing what we did when we started this row. We're going to decrease in the 4 last stitches. Okay, so just do 25 stitches. You're going to put 1 double crochet, and that's it, and then I'll meet you there. So we did that double crochet for 25 times, and of course I didn't show you this armhole. Figure you get it from the previous one we did. Okay, see, and we have 4 more stitches to do. So what you're going to do is just do 2 of the double crochet together. All right, so you're going to decrease twice. When you finish that, I'll show you what to do next. So now we completed row 2, and we have 108 stitches. So now you're going to chain your 2 and turn your work to start row 3. So the same thing we did when we started row 2, we used the first 4 stitches to decrease. So go ahead and do that. Do the decrease for 2 times, and I'll meet you there. I'm not going to show you the others to do for the pattern. The pattern is the next 16 stitches. You're going to do just 1 double crochet, and then when you get to the following 2 stitches, you're going to use the decrease. So you're going to use the double 2 together, and you're going to do this pattern for 4 times. So the next, you would do 16, just 1 double crochet, and then the next 2 stitches you tuck them together by decreasing them together by using the double 2 together stitch. Okay, so do that for 4 times, and when you finish that, I'll meet you there. So now this will be my 4th time repeating that pattern, but here is where we have where we previous row we did the decrease. I wanted to show you where to put your stitches if you're not too sure about, because see how it looks. You have this part right here. I'll show you. Okay, so remember how to do the decrease. Just go into that next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull across, yarn over. So now you see, you don't go in here, all right, but go up here, because that's where a decrease stitch is. All right, so you use this and then just complete that decrease stitch. So go ahead and do 1 more of that pattern where you put 16, just 1 double crochet, and then you're gonna decrease with putting the 2 together, and then when you finish that, I'll meet you there. So now we did that pattern for 5 times where we did 16, just 1 double crochet, and then we decrease 1 time, and now we're remaining stitches, you're just going to use 10 of the stitches for 1 double crochet, because we want those 4. We're going to do the decrease in the 4 last stitches. Okay, so make sure you do 10, and then you decrease in the last 4 stitches, and then when you finish that, I'll meet you there. So we did that for 10 times by putting 1 double crochet, and we decrease with these 4 stitches at the end. So at the completion of round 3, you have 99 stitches. So go ahead and chain your 2 and turn your work, and I'll show you what to do next. As we've been starting all the rows, we decrease in the first 4 stitches. So go ahead and do that, and I'll show you what to do next. So we did that by decreasing with the 4 stitches there. And to help you, just jot down how many times you're doing it. Okay, that's what I do to make it easy for me. So the next 14 stitches, you're going to do 1 double crochet, and then you're going to decrease with the next 2. Do that pattern for 5 times, and when you finish that, I'll meet you there and show you what to do next. So now we did that pattern for 5 times where we do the 14 stitches, just 1 double crochet, and then we did the decrease for 5 times. So now we have 11 stitches to go with 1 double crochet, and the following 4 we're gonna decrease with them. So go ahead and do that, and I'll meet you there and show you what to do next. So now with completing that with doing the 11 and then the decrease twice, that completes row 4, and with completion of row 4 you're supposed to have your 90 stitches. So now to start row 5, go ahead and chain your 2 and turn. For row 5, you know what we've been doing is just decreasing the first 4 stitches, and then the pattern now for row 5 is the 12 stitches. You're going to do 1 double crochet, and then the following 2 you're going to decrease. You're going to do that pattern for 5 times, and when you finish that pattern, I'll meet you there and tell you what to do next. So we went ahead and did that pattern for 5 times with doing 12 stitches with 1 double crochet, and then we decrease the next 2 stitches. So now we have 12 stitches remaining to do with 1 double crochet, and then the last 4 you're going to decrease in those last 4, and that will be it for this row. So with that, we did the 12 and we decrease 2 times. We complete row 5, and with the completion of row 5 you have 81 stitches. So to start row 6, chain your 2, turn your work. So for row 6, we're doing basically everything we're doing. So you decrease the first 4 stitches, and then the following 10 stitches you just put 1 double crochet, and the following 2 you will decrease. So you follow that pattern for 5 times. Remember, it's 10 stitches, then decrease, and then when you get to the other end you have 13 stitches remaining when you follow the pattern for 5 times, and then you have your 4 that you decrease. So go ahead and do that, because I'm not going to show you. You know the pattern by now. Been doing it for a while. So complete row 6 and I'll meet you there. So that's it. We complete doing row 6 by following that pattern, and with the completion of row 6 you're supposed to have your 72 stitches. And we completed doing the body of our Bolero too. So now we're going to crochet around the collar and the edging of our work. And you know, when we actually did the armhole, because when we started to work we did our little cluster of our double crochet came out on the wrong side of our work. So when we started, but we are going to say this now is the right side of our work, because we wanted the design of our double cluster to show. So this is considered now the right side of our work. So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to crochet around the collar and the neck area of our Bolero. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to work up our right side of our Bolero in the front. So we're going to chain 1. So now we're going to be working in rounds, and with the 6 rows we did, we're going to put 3 single crochet, and I'll show you as we go along what I mean by that. Okay, I just wanted to show you too, if you look at it and when you do it, this would be row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4, 5. As we go along you see what I mean. Okay, but when you do it you can see how it's divided by the rows we did when we chain 2 and turn. So we're going to put 3 single crochet at the end of our row. Okay, so we chain our 1 already. So a single crochet is go into that stitch, pull up a loop of yarn. You have 2 loops of yarn on your hook, yarn over, and you're going to pull across 2 of them at the same time, and that's a single crochet. Here too, so we don't lose our spot, because we're going to come back around. You put that stitch marker right in that first stitch. All right, don't forget that. So that's 1. So we need 2 more. So go into that stitch again, that row I should say, pull up 2 loops of yarn, yarn over, pull across 2 of them. One more time, back into that same row, pull up a loop of yarn, 2 loops of yarn on your hook, yarn over, pull across 2 of them. That's 3. So the next row, you don't put it here, but it would be over here, because that's where we did our turn for that row. Okay, so that's where that row starts. So now again I show you, pull up a loop of yarn, yarn over, pull across. We need 2 more, go into that row, pull up a loop of yarn, yarn over, pull across. One more time, yarn over, and then pull up a loop of yarn, yarn over, pull across, 2 of them. So that's it. So that's 3 single crochet in each of our row, and we're going to do this for 6 times, remember? So I'll show you another one again. It's not going to be here you put it, because that's not where a row starts. A row is here. Okay, so let's do 3 here. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I'll show you one more time. Remember, it's not here, but right here. Okay, 1, 2, 3. So we did that 4 times, so now you need to do it here. That would be 5, and here 6. Okay, and then when you finish that, I'll meet you there. So now what you're going to do is you're going to put in each of the end of our row that I showed you till you get up to your neck. You're going to put, till you get up to your neck, you're going to put 2 single crochet. All right, make sure you keep a track how many you put till the up there. All right, so do 2 the end of each of our row. So just so you know, to right here will be your last one to do up our front right. Okay, so I'll show you. You're going to put 2 there also, the single crochet. So by doing that 2 single crochet, you will have 21 times we did that. Okay, so we made it now to our neck corner, and we're going to go around. So what you're going to do is you're going to turn the work so you could, in the sense of just to work with it. All right, like this, because now we're going to put 1 single crochet in the opposite side of our chain that we worked on previously. So we're going to put 1 single crochet in each of our chain that we started with when we first started our work. So we're going to go right here. It's the opposite side of our chain that we didn't work on. Okay, so that will be your first one, and then the opposite side will be here, because when we started, remember, we did the double crochet. Now we're doing just a single crochet into our opposite side of our chain. All right, and you know how to do the single crochet, because that's what we've been doing, but it's just where to do your stitch in the opposite side of the chain. I'm trying to help you to show you as you go along. So keep on doing that till you get to the end of your chain that we started with, and then when you finish that, I'll show you what to do next. So we did that. Took us a little time. It's so slow going with this part of it, but we did that for 57 times. Okay, we did 1 single crochet. So now we're going to work down the left front of our bolero, and we're going to do the opposite of what we did when we did the right side of the bolero. We're going to do, at the end of each of our row, we're going to put 2 single crochet, and then you stop, and then you make sure you get your 6th row. You would do the 3 single crochet. All right, so keep a track of what you're doing, because at the last 6 end of the row you put the 3 single crochet, and I'll meet you there when you finish doing that. So now we did that for 21 times with the 2 single crochet in the end of our row, and then the following 6 of our rows we put the 3 single crochet. So now we're just going to turn our work so we could work at the bottom of our summertime bolero. Okay, so turn it so we could work on the bottom. So to start the bottom, our first stitch is right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to put one single crochet right there, and this is the pattern we're going to follow. And the next stitch we're going to put another single crochet. Now for the following 2 stitches we're going to use what's called a single 2 together. So we're decreasing now. So I'll show you how to do it. So single crochet, go into that stitch, pull up a loop, 2 loops on your hook, keep those 2 loops on your hook, go into the next stitch, pull up another loop. Now you have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, and you're going to pull across all 3 of them at the same time. And that's the single crochet 2 together, and that's when we decrease. So remember, this is the pattern. I'll show you again, and we're going to do this for 17 times. Then I'll show you what to do next. But here's the pattern again. You're just going to put 1 single crochet, the next stitch 1 single crochet, and then we're going to do the 2 together single crochet. We're going to decrease. So I'll show you. Go into that stitch, pull up a loop, keep those 2 loops on your hook, and go into the next stitch, pull up another loop. So now you have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, and pull across all 3 of them at the same time. So that's it. So we're following that pattern. So we did 2 already. So go ahead and do 16 more, and when you're finished, I'll meet you there. So now we completed that pattern of doing it 17 times with, we put in 2 stitches, we put 1 single crochet, and then we use the decrease by the single crochet 2 together, and that's how we made it up. So now we're going to start, because that's the completion of round 1. At the completion of round 1 you have 228 stitches. Now to start round 2 and 3, all we're going to do is we're just going to do 1 single crochet around our whole summertime bolero till you get back to your stitch marker. So keep a track as you go along. So you're going to do that for round 2 and round 3. So when you finish round 3, I'll meet you right back here, okay, before the stitch marker, and I'll show you what to do next. So do 1 single crochet around for round 2 and round 3. So we've made it back. We completed round 3. So to start round 4, we're going to do what's called the reverse single crochet. But to get started, see where a stitch marker is, and take it out, and we're going to join it together. So by joining, it's just going to do a slip stitch. A slip stitch is go into that stitch, pull up a loop of yarn, and pull straight across, and that's it. And we're going to chain 1. And now what we're going to do is, instead of working how we were going to the right, now we're going to go to the left, and that's going to do our reverse single crochet. I'll show you. So you take your needle. It's kind of little when you first start doing it. It's different from what you're used to. So what I do to make it easier for me, because like this is how you want to go, but what I do is I go underneath the stitch, and then this will work better. Go under that stitch, and then you pull up a loop of yarn. You're doing the regular single crochet, it's just the way you put it to make it a little easier for yourself, okay, for the reverse single crochet. And then complete, and then of course put our stitch marker back in, so we know that we completed round 4, because we're starting round 4 now. All right, so now remember, I keep it underneath. I go underneath that stitch, the next stitch, and just do the regular single crochet, and that's our reverse single crochet. Try to keep our little stitch marker out the way. And you're going to do this all the way around, all right? When you meet back here, I'll show you what to do next. So that's it. Go underneath, and then grab from underneath with your hook Take your time with it. When you first do it, you see it's a little kind of different because we're not used to it, but see the pattern coming out? That's what we want. And it's also called the crab stitch, but I like the reverse single crochet. Okay, keep it underneath, go underneath. Take your time, do it. Zoom in for you a little bit, see if it makes a difference. You can see what I'm doing. Go underneath the stitch, go under. All right, so just one reverse single crochet in each stitch around. That's all you're going to do. So now we made it around back, and we are at our first reverse single crochet that we made. It's a little tight, so what I do is I just use the stitch marker to open it a little bit, because what we're going to do, we're going to join it. So open it a little bit so you can see it, okay? It's a little tight. And then we're going to slip stitch there. I'll keep my stitch marker there so it could help me, show me till I'm ready to take it out. There you go. And then take it out and just pull up a loop of yarn and pull across all of them at the same time. And that's our join. So now I'm going to pull up a nice little tail, and then I'm going to cut it off because we're going to tuck this in. And that's it for this part, okay? So give it a nice little tail because we're going to tuck it in later. So now we're going to be working around our armhole area. So make sure it's turned on the right side and facing us. And we're going to start here because when we join, we're going to do a single crochet all the way around. So make sure you have a nice little tail because we need to tuck it in later. And what we're going to do, remember I told you to keep those stitch marker in. So this is where we're going to reference them. And this is where we're using them. So for the stitch marker before we join the armhole, that's what we're going to start. We're going to go right in there. You could take out the stitch marker now. What you're going to do is just take a loop of yarn, wrap it over your hook, and just pull it through that stitch. That's it. And then you're going to chain one, and that's just to hold it in place. That's all, okay? So now in that same stitch where we just joined, we're going to put one single crochet. And this will start round 1 for our armhole. So put your stitch marker there so you know where we started, okay? So now we need to put 5 single crochet before our next stitch marker because we want a total of 6. So that's 1. So the next stitch right there, we're going to put 2 single crochet. It's 1 and 2. And for the next stitch right here, we're going to put 2 single crochet. 1 and 2. And the next stitch before our stitch marker, just 1 single crochet. And that gives us our 6. So now you could take out your next stitch marker, or if you want to leave it there so you know where to go next, but it's nice and big, you could see it. So you take it out, and all you're going to do is do 1 single crochet around till you get back to your stitch marker, and I'll show you what to do next. So just 1 single crochet in each stitch around. So now we made it around, so that will be completion of round 1, and then you should have your 54 stitches. Now for round 2, you just take out your stitch marker. If you don't want to lose your spot, you don't have to take it out, but we're just going to put 1 single crochet there. Put our stitch marker back in. And now for round, so that's to start round 2. So now for round 2, 3, 4, all you're going to do is do 1 single crochet around. Again, what we did, and you're not increasing or decreasing, so you should have the same number of stitches as we did from round 1. So that would be 54. So go ahead and do, for those rows, 1 single crochet. So now we made it back around by doing from row 2 to row 4 with 1 single crochet. So now what we're going to do is we're going to slip stitch around. Okay, so take out your stitch marker. We're going to try to keep this first stitch loose so that when we come back we could join it. Okay, so slip stitch is just going to that stitch as we've been doing and pull straight across. So try to put a stitch marker back in, open it a little bit. Okay, so that's our first slip stitch. Next stitch, and each stitch around you're just going to slip stitch. Take your time with it. Okay, that's it. That's all we're going to do. And then when you get back to your stitch marker, I'll show you what to do next. So we finished that. We made it back around. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to pull up a nice little tail and grab my scissors and cut it off, and I'll show you what to do next. So I went ahead and cut off my yarn, and I attached my yarn needle. So where our stitch marker is, I'm just going to take the yarn needle and go right there and just pull it across. So I'm hiding it to make it look nice and look good when we're seaming the tucking in our tails. Okay, so you could take out the stitch marker now. So we're going to turn it inside, and we're going to tuck our tail inside our work. And then we have a lot of stitches in the back. I don't let it come out to the front when I'm doing it. And all we're going to do is just hide our tail inside. So that's it for our armhole area. I won't go ahead and show you the other one, but just go ahead and do the other one exactly the same we just did. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to tuck in. I showed you a little bit how to tuck in, but I wanted to show you also this part where we did finish off with the reverse single crochet. And you're going to go ahead and tuck in all the ends the same way, because we have a few ends to tuck in, but I just wanted to show you this part, how I do it. Okay, so I take the yarn needle, already attached it, and I'm going to go right in the back of the stitch right next to it that we finished off. Okay, go right in the back and pick up as much stitches as you can and pull it through. Okay, because we're just tucking in our tails and we're hiding it as best as we can. So go ahead, and when you tuck it in, you see I went back and forth a couple of times, and I try to do it as nicely so it doesn't show, so they see where you end off with your work. So do it as much time as you want to, and make it look as nice as you can get it to look nice. Okay, when you tuck in your ends. So go ahead and tuck in all your ends, and that's it. So that's it. We did awesome work. I think it came out really lovely. I love the cluster double crochet stitch. I love it. I love it. I think it came out really nice. We did awesome job. Congratulations, you're finished. So till next time, thank you for watching. Bye bye.